Today we're going to be setting up AI recording via Crossline detection for the Paramount series. Right now we're logged in via a web portal to one of our demo units to do this and to explain this as best we can. I'm going to try to simplify this process so that it's very easy to do and easy to understand. Okay, so for starters, we're via the browser. So if you're working off of the local monitor, there's going to be one differential, and I'm going to explain what that is. The differential, if you're doing this setup process on the local monitor, so the HDMI monitor connected to the recorder, or the VGA monitor connected to the actual physical recorder instead of the web browser, is over here at the top, you have the live display, playback, search and backup, intelligent analytics, and function panel options. Okay. These options will be found with the circle and the four squares in the bottom left, which is your start button on the local monitor. It won't say function panel, it'll say settings. Okay, so if you click on your settings, as I'm clicking on function panel, you'll have the same options here. Okay, this screen will pop up with the same exact options. So you'll be able to follow along if you're working off the local monitor as well. Okay, so to set up your crossline detection, very simple to do. You're going to simply click on AI event. After clicking on AI event, on the left-hand side, you're going to click on AI event again. Okay. Then very simply, you're going to choose the camera that you would like to work on from the camera name section here at the top. So that's the first step. Okay, so you have all your different cameras available to choose. We're going to be working off of a PAR, P4, TX, IR, AI, WLT camera for this example. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select that camera. Then simply select the process that you would like to use. So for this example, for this video, we're going to be using line crossing. Okay, if you want to set up intrusion, intrusion is right here. We have another video on that, on setting that up as well. So for line crossing, make sure you select line crossing. The first thing you're going to want to do is check the box to enable detection by IPC. This turns on the line crossing. Okay, so IPC stands for Internet Protocol Camera. So you're going to want to make sure that's checked, enabled. Okay, that's the first step. Next step is going to be drawing your line. So in the field of view for the camera, you can define where you want your line to be drawn by just dragging and dropping. So if I wanted my line here, I could drag and drop. If I make a mistake, I can hit clear and just redraw it. Okay, so you're going to first drag your line to the location that you would like it to be. Once the line is drawn, you can then set your schedule for the line. So I see a lot of people sometimes adjust this thinking for push notifications or other kinds of things, but there's a separate schedule for almost any type of event. So whether you're looking for your lights, your audio speaker that might be built into a camera or something like that, this schedule is when this line is active for your AI analytics in the playback and your intelligent analytics. So most people leave this on 24/7. I would advise leaving it on 24/7, but that is up to you. If you want to create your own schedule, you can by going and hitting manage, hitting the plus sign here in the top right. You can name your schedule, drag the times that you would like the schedule to be, and this would be the hours that it's going to be active. You can copy uh, any specific day to another day if you wanted to after you draw one, and then hit add. Once it's added in, it'll show up here in the list. You close this, and then you can choose it from your drop down. Okay, but again, most people leave this on 24/7. Duration is your post recording. Okay, so this is how long it's going to stay in AI after the AI event clears out. So that's how long it'll stay in AI recording. You can do as little as 3 seconds or as much as 2 minutes with some times in between to choose. But again, that's your post recording. Your pre recording is always going to be 5 seconds. Okay. Then over here, you can choose the direction of your line. So this very simply is when somebody crosses the line, which way does it trigger the line? So you can do A to B, which would be like an entry, B to A, which would be like an exit, or you can do both ways. So the line is active whether somebody crosses from A or crosses from side B. Okay. Next, you can do additional lines. So if you wanted to, you can come in here, do line 2, I can draw a separate line over here, and then if I wanted to, I can do line 3, draw a line over here, all with separate directions. Okay, you can do up to 4 lines per camera. Once you have all that set, just make sure you hit apply here in the bottom right. Go ahead and hit apply, that will save it. Okay, and then the next step is to click on detection target. So in detection target, all this means is what is my line triggered by? So is my line going to be triggered by humans? Is it going to be triggered by vehicles or non-motor vehicles? So remember, AI is human and vehicle classification. So you can choose what your line is going to be triggered by. So I can do a combination of these things, or I can do one individual option if I wanted to. So I can set that up however I would like. Okay, so non-motor vehicle would be like a scooter or a bike or something of that nature. Okay, so once I have decided what I want my line to be triggered by, go ahead and hit apply. Don't worry about these sensitivity options. 50 is usually a pretty good barometer. That's going to be the default. If you're having some issues detecting things, you may want to bring this up a little bit or down a little bit, but that's what that's there for. 50 is usually a good number to be at. Trigger mode is the last step. Trigger mode is what happens when my line is triggered. Okay, so what is the process that's going to occur when my line is triggered? Snapshot, you really don't necessarily need snapshot. You're getting snapshots in your intelligent analytics, which I'm going to show you here in a second. Push notification. This is to turn on your push notifications. So the push notifications, this is going to be on by default. Okay, push notifications are turned on and off from the phone app. Okay, so not really necessary to turn this on or off. They're turned on or off from the phone app. This is on by default. If you turn this off, what this allows you to do is if somebody turns on push notifications on your phone and you don't know how to shut them off from the phone, you come in here and you can turn this off and you'll no longer get push notifications for this camera. Buzzer is to make a buzzer go off on the physical actual unit. Pop-up video is if you want to, if somebody, let's say, is watching the cameras and they're viewing 16 cameras on the screen, this camera will pull up full screen for you and then revert back to the 16 cameras they were viewing previously once the event clears out. Email notifications is if you want to get an email notification for when an AI event occurs on this camera. Now these two features down here at the bottom, you'll only see these if your camera supports it. And I have an AI WLT camera, so my camera supports it. So the IPC audio would be if you want to play a sound from your camera, if it's a speaker, if your camera has a built-in speaker on it, it'll actually play whatever sound that you have set up under your audio sections here in the top left. Okay, so that's what that is. So if you turn that on when an AI event occurs, your audio feature is going to play. IPC light could be one of two things. Your cameras may have red and blue lights for deterrence, so this would turn on your deterrent features. Or your camera may have a white light built into it. So if your camera has white light built into it, what this feature is going to do is when an AI event occurs, your white light's going to kick on. Now you can set up separate schedules for this as well, both for the audio and the light up here in the top left. Okay, record. This is set to go out of the box. You really don't need to mess with this. This is your AI recording. So this is going to be ready to go. You won't have to adjust any settings here. But if somebody did mess with it, you would typically see the camera that you're dealing with under trigger camera. You can just highlight the camera and move it over to the column. Now, like I said, that's really ready to go out of the box. This is a basic overview. There's more in-depth things that you could do, but this is just a basic overview. Alarm out, that's if your NVR or your camera has alarm outs. So on the back of some of the NVRs, they have alarm outputs. So those will be listed at the top here without any kind of additional information. So some have 4, some have 6, some have none. If your NVR has none, these won't be there. These down here are going to be the ones that are actually on the physical camera dongle. So some of the camera dongles actually have alarm outputs. So what you can do with this is you could wire something to it, whether it be an alarm, for example, or a gate, whatever it may be, maybe a door. But you could wire something to one of those alarm outs. And basically what you're saying is when I check the box and I move this over, Okay. Now when an AI event occurs, that alarm contact is going to close. And then lastly, you have trigger preset. Trigger presets over here on the right. This is really meant for PTZ cameras. So if, let's say you have a PTZ camera on the left side of the building and on the right side of the building, what you can actually do is you can go to that PTZ camera, set up a preset, and once you have a preset selected, you can then choose it from this drop-down box. Okay, so basically what you're saying is when an AI event occurs, I'm going to tell that PTZ camera to look in this direction. So that's what this is for. Okay, again, make any changes in here, make sure you go ahead and hit apply. Once everything's configured and all those steps are done, you're pretty much done. Okay, your AI is set up, ready to go. And what this looks like when it's utilized and working right, you can go to your intelligent analytics. You can do a vehicle search, for instance. And if we take any kind of, I'm going to do a search for all my cameras, but if I do a search, this is going to be anytime a vehicle crossed my cross line. Okay. I can do a search for a specific time period. I can do a search for a specific camera. I can choose specific events. So if I'm using line crossing or intrusion, I can choose that from the drop-down list and it'll only show me those events. Okay. And then again, once you have all these thumbnails, you can go ahead and click on any of these thumbnails. It'll play the video clip of when it captured the vehicle. You can also check the box to back up the clip over here in the bottom right. And that's a vehicle search. But again, remember, with the AI, it's vehicle and people classification. So for human classification, you can go ahead in here and select that camera, do a search, and this is going to be all the people that crossed your cross line or entered into your intrusion zones. And again, you can click on any of these thumbnails. It'll play the video clip of when it captured them. You can also hit original image. It'll show you the wide angle view of what that camera was looking at, and it won't be the digitally zoomed in version of it. Okay, and that is setting up AI analytics for line crossing with the Paramount series.